liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Allen. Here. Broughton.
Here.
Darnell.
Here.
De Palma is absent with notice. Cordella.
Here.
Marshall.
Here.
Thurman.
Here. So at this time, we need to approve our agenda. Are there any concerns or questions regarding our agenda tonight? Everyone's quiet. Who would like to make a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Support.
Okay, I have a motion by trustee Marshall, seconded by clerk Allen to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. The agenda has been approved unanimously. So, first on our agenda is a public hearing for CDBG 2018. So we will have to open our public hearing, and then once we do that, we will welcome anyone to come up to speak to just CDBG 2018. That's the only thing we'll be hearing during the public hearing. So who would like to make a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Treasurer Darnell. I don't know what I wrote, but it's, I know what it says. And it's seconded by Trustee Cordella to open the public hearing for CDBG 2018. And I believe we need to show a roll call for that.
Yes, we do.
Broughton.
Yes.
Darnell.
Yes.
De Palma is absent with notice. Cordella.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Thurman.
Yes, motion carries unanimously. So at this time, we will open the public hearing for CDBG 2018. So if anyone would like to speak to that, please step up to the microphone.
Development Block Grant.
Excuse me, this is Bob MacArthur, and I am chairperson of the Brandon Groveland Youth Assistance. Candy, your clerk, is the treasurer of that organization. Been there for a long time, a lot longer than I've been there. The youth assistance, we have used CDBG money for several years. And again, in 17, I attended a meeting in Brandon, and Independence was the only two communities who used up their 17 money and was prepared for the drawdown on that, which is a real plus for the clerk. Takes a lot of work to get to that point, but Brandon Groveland Youth Assistance, we use the funds for skill building, which would include soccer, basketball, baseball, typically through Brandon Rec, which we get a lot of support. We have Kara is a member of our organization. She helps out with all kinds of information on that. We do that youth recognition night. I don't know if you've ever been there. It's a good thing to attend. They do around 150 kids get recognized for things they do in the community. We also do a family education, which is Love and Logic is the program they're into now. We do that at the library, but we fund it. They provide the building and facility to do it. We also do the child abuse and autism awareness. We have a prevention program that'll be done in April. It'll be done again this year. I don't know if you're aware of the Challenge Day that the school provides for high school students. They do 200 kids for the entire day, and it is a challenge on the kids because it goes over issues in their life and issues that they've had, other kids have had, and they get to find out that they're not alone with all these problems, which is a great thing. And the school funds one day, Brandon Groveland Youth Assistance funds the other day. Currently, we're working on a tutoring program with the school to where kids can stay after and have a tutor provided and transportation if necessary. Groveland's using hopefully we're going to use their CDBG money for that so that we can provide transportation after school back home for these kids. And be able to provide something out at the mobile home community. With that, that's what we're going to do with the money, parts of it. What it does is free up other money for us to be able to do like the Challenge Day, which is very expensive. And that's where I'm at. Any questions on it, I'd be glad to answer them, but thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak for CDBG 2018? Okay, I don't see anyone, so at this time, we need to close our public hearing. Who would like to make a motion to close the CDBG 2018 public hearing?
So moved.
Support.
Okay, I have a motion to close the CDBG 2018 public hearing by trustee Cordella, and it was seconded by treasurer Darnell. And then we'll need to do a roll call on that as well.
Darnell?
Yes.
De Palma is absent with notice. Cordella?
Yes.
Marshall?
Yes.
Allen?
Yes.
Broughton?
Yes.
Thurman?
Yes. The public hearing is now closed. We can move on to our reports. For reports this evening, we have the Treasury report that we have every month, the General Ledger report, designated report, the reconciliation report, our Building Department report, which shows that our new builds are up again. And I think we're at, as of September, we're at 45 new builds compared to 38 at the same time last year. And we also have our recreation report. Our recreation director's here. Do you want to come up? Okay.
Good evening. One thing I would like to add, because on my report, I mentioned that we should be hearing from the DNR anytime on our supplemental scoring. Well, it came in today.
Oh,
So I'd like to share it with you real quick.
okay.
The Land and Water Conservation Fund. Now, this is for 2017 application. The 2016 awarded is well on its way. Briefly on that, it's in HRC's hands. Shortly, you'll be seeing some surveying being done at the park for the baseball fields. This one is the other half of the parking lot that we applied for. The grant is 2017. We were notified in August or September we had our chance to upgrade our points. So I got with the park subcommittee, supervisor, HRC, and really close conferences with the DNR to see what exactly they wanted and what we could do. With the Land and Water Conservation Fund, there's a max of 430 points. Now, 20 of that is your history. We would have got that 20 if we never would have had a grant done before or awarded. So that's 20 you're not going to get. The state of the financial for Brandon Township, that's 40 points. We're not ever going to get that because our income's too high. And we're never going to get 50 points because it's not part of a linking trail to like the Iron Bell. So we're not going to get those points. So the max points that you can get was 430. In August, we had 190 or 200 points. I'm very happy to say now we have 280. And last year we was awarded with 180 points. Now, mind you, last year was a good year. DNR felt really giving, and they gave everybody the grant. But there was only 18 applicants, and they split them up between the two big state grants and federal grants. So what I did during that time, we increased 20 points in collaboration. I had drafted up a letter from the Rotary Club, had them sign it, and reviewed it with the DNR before I even submitted it. And it's exactly what they wanted. We also increased in the project quality the need And where we improved points there, another 20 points, was HRC took the blueprint, clarified it a little bit better, what was 2016 project, what was 2017, took all the other phases off that's been currently done, because it was confusing to the grant coordinator. We did what she wanted to do, and we got another 20 points there. We also increased 40 points by the overall park design. We increased another 20 points by being universal accessible. We would have got all the points. The only reason why we didn't get 20, we got 40 out of the 60. The only reason is our park is not 100% accessible because we're applying for sand volleyball. You can't put wheelchairs in sand. But everything else is wheelchair accessible or, for all walks of life. So that's what we have. We also scored additional points in environmental friendly. You had to have 3 environmental friendly. We added solar lighting. You can change your scope of the grant as long as you don't change the amount. So you can rob Peter to pay Paul type thing. So we added solar lighting around the basketball courts and the walkways there by some picnic tables, and click, that got us the points. On the other grant, not sure federal, the state grant, the MNRTF, Michigan Natural Resource Trust Fund, is a little tougher scoring system. They look at more, is there hunting, is there fishing, is there archery, things like that. There's a total of 520 points. Again, we scored 200 in the preliminaries, and we upped that to 265. Basically on the same format as we did on the land and water. So I'm feeling pretty good about this. Well, in December, there's a big meeting. Supervisor Kathy and I will probably go to that. We went to it last year, and then we'll know. So I'm getting excited, and we're going to be breaking ground for the 2016 here real shortly. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Did anyone have any questions for the rec director before we move on? No? Okay. All right, we also have a fire department pamphlet report. And we have the fire chief here. Did the fire chief want to come and speak about his report?
Good evening. You have our third quarter 2017 highlights. We had 342 incidents for the third quarter. I'd like to point out that when I came and joined the fire department in 1987, we ran 341 calls for the entire year. Lots changed over 30 years. We've had some outside trainings. One of the things that I'd like to point out is that firefighter EMT Jason Wilton, who was attending staff and command class at Eastern Michigan University, is now a graduate of said class. So he completed that and the graduation process. Other than that, I really don't have anything. You have the reports there in front. If you have any questions, please see me. Thanks.
Thank you.
Chief, I do have a question. Did he finish his study that he was doing for his project?
He did,
Okay.
and we're
How's that
working
looking?
on that.
Okay, good.
Okay?
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chief. We also have a Edna Burton Senior Center report, a CDBG report, and that brings us to the trustees. So we'll start down with Trustee Cordella tonight. Do you have anything to report? Has the Planning Commission been meeting?
No, they have not. I tell you the truth, I can't remember last time we met,
Okay,
so no report.
all right. Trustee Marshall.
Same as I said last month. Yesterday, we had the thing down in Texas. It was a community of 480-some people, and which is less than half the size of the village of Ortonville, let alone the entire township. I want to thank our public safety personnel again for keeping us all safe. Lieutenant Glover, for your outstanding record on keeping us safe and putting us in a safe community. Chief, for all your guys, you do outstanding work, and you don't get thanked enough. That's it.
Either way.
Either way.
All right, is that it?
That's it.
All right, thank you. Trustee Bratton.
Well, we've met with Fred in the rec department I guess maybe just once since our last, but we've already discussed the budget as far as in our budget meeting, so I don't think we need to discuss it any further, and that's about it for me.
Okay, all right, thank you. And Treasurer Darnell.
Well, we're making sure that all the bits and pieces of the winter bill are correct and ready to mail. You should receive your winter bill by the 1st of December. We do accept partial payments. Don't worry about that. If you have any problems or concerns, call me. And we can take payments here until the end of February. That's for both summer and winter. The 18 dog tags are coming in. They should be here the first week in December. There's also the new Animal Adoption Center that's open. It's located at the 1200 North Telegraph Road, Building 42E. They also have a new phone number. It's a really nice place, guys. If you're looking for a new forever friend, that's the place to go. And as always, if you have any questions or concerns, call our office.
Does the animal adoption place have a website? You know?
Through oakgov.com.
Okay.
It's on the Oakland County website.
Oh, okay. All right, thanks. Not that I need another one, but.
Yeah, but it's really a cool building.
Good.
Well, is that on the main Oakland County site?
Yep, it's right by
land?
the jail.
Right by the jail?
It's
Okay.
brand new. It says animal adoption, and
Oh,
Pardon? I missed that, what was that?
it says animal adoption right across the front. And there's a lost and found spot and a adoption center
Cool.
part. And
Very
you can
cool.
take the dogs out and play with them. It's really fun.
Very good, yeah, very good.
All right, thank you. Clerk's report.
I, first of all, would like to report that I love the sidewalk that is out the east side of our building has been raised over the weekend, so there's no tripping hazard. Very nice. Thank you very much. Tomorrow is election day for Oxford School residents only. So we have 1,700 possible voters that will be at Oakwood School and Fire Station Number 2 at Seshaba and Seymour Lake Road. And I don't think there'll be long lines. So, but we're ready to roll with all the new equipment, and we're all set. And that's it for me.
Short one today. All right, thank you. As far as the supervisor's report, I have a long report. I'd like to welcome Genesis Credit Union. They had their grand opening today, this morning, between 8 and 9, and ribbon cutting. So that was a nice event for them, and the building is just gorgeous. If you have an opportunity, go in that building, because inside it's really nice and high ceilings, and it's not your typical bank where you go up to teller windows. It's kind of more interactive. So it's pretty interesting. The outside landscaping looks really nice, and so I'd just like to welcome Genesis Credit Union to the township. I spoke to A&N Asphalt on the driveway replacement project. They reformulated the bid for 4 inches of asphalt. The total cost would be $47,370. The village portion would be $7,330, plus more for bumpers and signs if that's what they want. The village manager polled the council to get their feedback on them paying for their part, and the response was that they didn't want to pay the full amount. It looked like they probably would be okay with paying half the amount. So we have an option of just saw cutting their part and let them do it, which we might do, but in the meantime, A&N doesn't think that the weather's going to be good enough to get the project done this year. So that's going to allow me more time to work with the village. So I'll probably go to a village meeting and give them options, and we'll get a more definite answer of what they want to do with this project. So I also talked to A&N about filling in some of the major potholes that we have in our driveway to get us through the winter, and they said that they would be able to do that for us.
Kathy, could you refresh my memory? I know we talked about the numbers with 3 inches, and then we were gonna add that extra inch. What did it increase? I don't remember the first number.
Isn't it here in our minutes?
Oh, it could be in the minutes.
I think it is.
Was it 32?
Was it, so it went up like $1,500? Because you said 47. now, right?
47.
I thought it only went up like
Or was it-
1,057.
No, or maybe it was 38.
I'll look in our minutes.
Well, you tell me.
Okay, while she's looking for that, John Lyons, who is the interim village manager, is only going to be working through tomorrow for the village, so I'm not sure how they're going to be handling their manager position, but we'll work with the village president.
I'm sorry. I just, did they not extend an offer to someone?
They did, but it got turned down.
Oh, okay.
Did you find it?
Yes, right here. The approved base was
39,200.
plus 8170 to add another inch of asphalt,
I just didn't
remove
remember
and
what the
replace.
additional was. It was 87.
Okay. All right.
It ended up being 47. Yep.
Well, that's all the way around this entire building, is that correct?
Except for the
Yes.
part over by the
It-
park.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're going to remove the asphalt on the sides and the back, and they're going to do an overlay on the parking spaces in the front.
Okay, so the good stuff they're gonna keep, the stuff that's really deteriorated, they're gonna redo all the way down the
Yep.
foundation.
Okay, the building director and our electrical inspector are working with me to develop specs for the generator replacement, so we don't have that ready yet to go back out. On October 25th, I went to Lake Orion for a meeting with DEQ, Oakland County, and the communities in this area regarding trails and where to reroute the Iron Bell Trail to. So that was an interesting meeting. I was the only one there that represented a community that didn't want the trail. So I informed them of what our position was. And just to let everyone know, from what I gathered from the meeting, it sounded like there was some talk about Oxford going north on M24, but they said that was out of the question, that was owned by a private individual. But Independence seemed willing to put something in going east and west, so they could either get it to M15 or they could get it all the way to Springfield to go up Dixie Highway. So from that point, the DNR is going to have to take a look and make a decision on where they want it to go. The Road Commission for Oakland County is hiring 35 to 40 part-time staff to augment their snowplow drivers again this year. If anyone is interested, they can call the Road Commission at 248-645-2000. And the Road Commission plans to make the intersection of Oak Hill and Sashabaw an all-way stop due to the number of crashes that they've had at that intersection. Their ultimate goal is to widen the intersection, make left turn lanes so they can regulate, so that they can have a regular traffic signal or put in a roundabout. So they haven't decided. On October 23rd, I attended the new Mobilization Center dedication and ribbon cutting for MABUS, which they call Michigan Task Force 1, in Groveland Township. It was a very functional facility that is well equipped to handle a wide range of disasters. And I just wanted to thank Groveland Township and the supporting partners that funded this effort in the beginnings so that we can have that task force available to us. And it was just a very, very good dedication ceremony, and the building is amazing. So if anyone has time and they want to go tour it, I'm sure that they'd let you come out there. And then I also wanted to thank the village for their wonderful Halloween event that they had the other night on Halloween. I was able to help hand out donuts and cider, so they had quite a large crowd, but the donuts ran out right as the crowd ran out, so that worked out well. There was some leftover cider, but it was a good event, lots of nice, interesting costumes to look at. So thank you to the village. So that concludes reports.
Yeah, I ended up having another question since we brought up the village. Fred, I saw in your report, you're talking about doing a Christmas parade again. We made sure that we're applying for the permit with the village, making sure we're communicating with them.
Did you want to talk to Fred? Because
I have it on my desk.
Scott, Fred, why don't you step up to
I'm
the
sorry.
microphone, and then if you have a
Okay.
question,
Okay.
we can just ask.
I
it to
saw,
him directly.
I should have gotten to this when you were up there before, Fred. I didn't think of it. I saw in your report that we're doing a Christmas parade that will be going through the village, and I just want to make sure we're communicating with the village. We're asking, because doesn't that require a permit?
Yeah, it's filled out, sitting on my desk. Tomorrow morning when we have our department head meeting, those two gentlemen back there, you gonna be there tomorrow? Because I gotta have their signatures.
Okay.
So it's all ready to go.
It's just all part of this, trying to work
Yep.
closer with the village, making
I
sure we're
understand.
keeping them informed. I think we can smooth some things over.
And then there's a Christmas in the Village meeting that happens to be at a time that I cannot attend, but I will give them some notes to
Okay.
talk about tomorrow, but I can't make that meeting. So, yeah, so the parade permit's all in
Okay.
works.
Thanks, Fred.
Okay, that concludes our report. For correspondence this evening, we have Zoning Board of Appeals meeting minutes of August 23rd, 2017. We have Zoning Board of Appeals meeting minutes of September 27th, 2017. We have Retirement Oversight Committee meeting minutes of March 7th, 2017, September 20th, 2017, and October 19th, 2017. So that brings us to citizens' comments. So at this time, we will take citizens' comments on agenda items only. So if there's anyone that would like to speak to an agenda item, now would be your opportunity to come up to the podium. Please limit your comment to 3 minutes. Is there anyone that would like to make a comment on an agenda item? We have a quiet crowd this evening, so. All right, seeing no one there wanting to make a comment, we'll move on. We have no discussion items tonight, but we do have a consent agenda that includes regular meeting minutes of October 2nd, 2017, special meeting minutes of October 5th, 2017, special meeting minutes of October 19th, 2017, regular bills in the amount of $28,184.09, prepays in the amount of $315,309.43, Township benefits from payroll account of $31,718.40, trustee timesheets in the amount of $1,358. Are there any questions regarding the consent agenda tonight? Would someone like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
Support.
I have a motion by trustee Marshall, seconded by clerk Allen, to approve the consent agenda as presented. And if there's still no questions or concerns, we will go ahead and do a roll call.
DePalma is absent with notice. Cordella?
Yes.
Marshall?
Yes.
Allen?
Yes.
Broughton?
Yes.
Darno?
Yes.
Thurman?
Yes, carries unanimously. So that brings us to unfinished business, moving right along. And we have one item of unfinished business, and that would be the possible purchase of Bell School. So Belen Elementary School is up for sale. We've had some discussion in the township here as far as whether or not it might make good sense to move there. We contacted the school. They said they would accept $500,000 for the property, and they would work with us on payments. So is this something that the township board is interested in exploring? And I know we have a certain clerk that would like to explore this further.
I think we really should explore it further. There's actually been interest in someone to buy this building.
Is
which
there? Wow.
So if we're here, they can't buy it. I, for one, know that we'll have a much better parking situation, a much larger conference room for board meetings, all kinds of storage that we could ever want, several bathrooms throughout the building. There's a lot of pluses. Terry went with me as well.
I still think we need to have a road trip.
Absolutely.
I think that everybody should see it, because my questions are, what's the square footage for cleaning as well as anything else? How long has it been empty? How old is the roof? How old is the septic? How old is the well? How much will it cost to renovate it? What's the average heat bill or light bill? How much is the grounds maintenance? All those are questions that have to go into this scenario.
Absolutely.
So we don't have really any of those answers before we can.
After our last meeting, I walked over there, I walked around the whole grounds just to kind of check it out. Kathy, just so you know, I found it interesting. It was a nice day. It was 65 degrees or so. And they were running their ventilation system over there, and I'm not really sure who's paying for all that, but.
The school. The school is.
Maybe they need to turn it down or something, unless it's wet in there. I didn't see any reason for it to be running that day. I said at our last meeting, I think it's a good thing to look at. This motion here is fine to consider. There's nothing wrong with getting more information. I'm open to talking about a possible use for a rec center. I like this building here. I like the fact that it's in town. I don't think, other than a few trail meetings, that parking's been a big problem. I just find it ironic the price is $500,000, because if we had the last meeting still, we could go back and refer to the tape and said, I'd like to explore the cost, but if it's $500,000, forget it. That's what I said, and then it comes out to exactly that amount. So, but there's nothing wrong with getting more information.
Yeah, I was a little surprised at the price. They would accept $500,000. Well, I bet they would accept $500,000. Yeah, because that, I'm right on board with Scott. It's like, that's a hefty price, and there's a lot of things we can do with $500,000.
It's a nice lot, but there's a lot of information that needs to be found out about like everyone said, the roof, and even maintaining a building like that,
Right.
what it
Yeah.
would cost.
And I think the balance point is going to be the cost of any renovation we have to do and the upkeep of that building based on what could we put into this building to renovate this building and enlarge rooms and do some restructuring.
Like a second story?
No, I mean, for one, I
There's
could think
nowhere
of
to
enlarging
go.
this room, knock that wall out.
That's a,
Yeah, I know,
okay.
yeah. But I mean, you have a wall, I'm not sure that's a
Well-
primary
Structural.
structural wall, but,
Well, we actually, and storage.
well,
Recreation storage and treasurer department storage
Yeah.
is right behind that wall,
yeah.
so.
Yeah, no, I understand, there's other, but I think that's the balancing act we have to look at. What's the expenses of renovating this to something we can use, as opposed to renovating that and then all the additional expenses? I mean, I wouldn't have a problem going down this field trip and looking it over and taking a look around. I think if we have a professional go down there to look at it, I think it's gonna cost us an arm and a leg for them to go through and say, well, this has to be done. I mean, building inspector can look at it. But as far as renovating and coming up with a plan for how you're gonna change it around for a city office building, I think you're gonna start talking quite a bit of money, and then we have to start saying, what's the
First steps,
balance
though,
point?
find out what it would cost to keep running that place just like
Right,
it is. Assume it was
exactly.
gonna be a school again.
Right.
Not talking about changing rooms, just find out if a school wanted to move in there, what would have to be done to make sure it was up to code and working properly, checking the roof, checking the water, checking
Well,
the
Yeah, and I'd like to look at it just like a business would.
Yeah.
I want to see your books. You know, what's the electrical cost on
Yes.
this? You know, what's the water, everything else that costs, just like you said, just as it is now. I mean, that's just due diligence. Any business owner is gonna say, what's your expenses here? And then we can start looking at it as, okay, is this even feasible?
We haven't heard from Chris yet.
I second what Scott's definitely said and what Bob definitely said. The 500,000 price came in and I was like, are you kidding me? It's like, this building's been empty for,
How many years?
3 or 4.
and they haven't got a bid on it yet. And so, to me, that sounds like it's not a very desirable piece of property. And so, for them to then come back to us and say, we're gonna give you a deal, $500,000, I'm going like, that's no deal. And I mentioned it in an email to Treasurer Darnell and to Supervisor Thurman, what I thought about that. And I basically thought it was like, no, it's worth like more like $50,000, not $500,000.
But they'll accept 500.
Well, I know. But like I said to Treasurer Darnell and Supervisor Thurman, I said, because of the things that you guys mentioned, the renovations that'll be necessary, I did the same thing you did, only I did my walk around about 2 months ago.
Okay.
And I went all the way around and there's a lot of property there.
Yeah.
And so my question is like, what are we gonna do with all that extra property? And are we gonna maintain that? And what's the cost? And like you guys said, what's the cost to maintain the inside of the building?
At one point, we had soccer games on that property.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a nice lot.
Oh, it's
Definitely
a
is.
huge lot. And but it does need still some work to some of the fencing is in need of repair, some of the, perimeter fencing, especially in the back, because I came in, through that trail that comes, snakes around and comes in and almost like comes right into the school lot. And I was like, okay, and so that's all in my head, and I'm going, this is, that's cost. It's cost, and it's something that needs to be addressed. So
Okay.
I agree with Broughton and Marshall, definitely.
Well, just to follow up, when I wrote the suggested motion, I was imagining the clerk's name in this space here.
I offered to bring a lot of cost to this meeting tonight and was told no. This board only wanted the price and not to
That's
do
it.
anything else, so I've done nothing else.
Yeah.
And that was by Kathy.
That's what was said at the
Don't
meeting.
do anything.
Yeah,
So
no, and I think
what
that's
I've
fine.
done.
I think that's fine, because
I thought it
we're
would be
not-
better to bring numbers with it, but this is the way it is, so.
but I think to get those other numbers would have cost us money. To get the other
No, it
numbers, that would,
wouldn't cost a penny.
you're gonna have somebody go through and figure out prices for
No,
renovation and
I was
repairs.
gonna get
and-
the cost of the heating, the electrical bill.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
All the monthly
Their
bills
current,
that
their
they
current
have.
expenses,
But
okay.
for renovating,
Right.
Renovating is
To maintain
different.
it.
Yeah, okay, I see.
we might
I
be
gotcha.
able to even get a contractor to give you a ballpark on renovating,
For free.
like,
I'm a good arm twister.
so you're
I
willing to
have
have
an
your name in?
architect who will come out and help with projects for absolutely nothing, so it wouldn't hurt to ask.
That's a great idea.
Free is always good.
Yeah, I like that idea.
He's-
Can you share that name? I might need to use that person.
They're actually working with me right now for the senior center renovation
Oh,
in the
great.
kitchen, so.
Well,
they're
good for them.
familiar.
Yeah, God bless them.
So you want to take this on then?
I'll be happy to.
Okay.
Bob said free is good.
And let's see, I wrote this up to explore all associated costs with the purchase of Bell Ann School for the purpose of moving the township offices to that location, and to bring findings back to the board by, what's good for you?
You tell me.
Well, I don't know
Next
what your
meeting.
schedule's like. You've got an election to do.
December's meeting.
Are you sure you want to make it that quick, Candy? I mean,
December
'cause we-
1st?
I can do it by
Okay.
December.
Well, my question is, you have.
I will do
the
nothing
motion
else.
is explore all cost. Do we want to explore all the cost? Because to me, that means renovating and everything else. I think we might want to just limit it to, I mean, for me, I'd just like to look at the bare raw numbers right now instead of all the costs. Because you say all the costs, I'm thinking of renovation,
Right.
repairs, and that kind of
I
stuff.
would like to know what it would cost for renovation, if she can get it for free.
How about this? If I can get it by December 4th, it will be on the agenda. If I cannot, it will be January.
That's
Would
good.
that work
Alright.
for you? Because
only
I don't
other
know how
thing-
busy my guy is.
There was something in the paper, we just want to make sure that some church hasn't already made an offer on that building.
If they did, they did.
I thought that was a
but
different-
I will
different-
find
Yeah, I thought
out.
that
was the intermediate
That was the
school.
intermediate.
Yeah, that was a different
Oh,
school.
I guess in my head I was
Yeah, it
thinking
was
It was the
building.
intermediate.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, I remember this same article you were talking about, and I was surprised to see that, but
So can we just add that onto the motion by December 4th or January?
It's fine.
Or do we want to just put January or sooner?
Put January or sooner, because I'm bringing it back in December if I have to.
by January board meeting or sooner.
Our meeting is going to be January 2nd, or no? We always move it to
To
the,
the day after?
yep, so it'll be January 2nd, 2018.
January 1st is a Monday, Candy?
Yes. Yep.
But everyone's got that day off, right?
Right.
Yeah,
So we would have our meeting January 2nd.
okay.
That's typically what we do.
I think maybe we could also, as a board, email you what we would like to see,
Sure.
like if we're interested in renovations, or if we want to know what the heating costs are, just so you can have a list of
Well,
what
I
to
was
look
going to
for.
do everything, from
Yeah.
insurance to
Yeah.
Yeah.
utilities to
That'd be great.
maintenance, the whole shop.
To
Right, but I-
parking lot replacement, to
Right.
maintaining the grounds, lawn mowing,
Yep.
Yeah.
all
You
that.
got-
There's a
yeah.
lot there.
Yeah, there is. It's a big piece of property.
Well, we can make this a great big party, because I think probably every department could add what they would like to see in a new building. Because if we were to get renovation prices, what's it going to take to have the recreation department happy and have enough space? You know,
Two
That's why I
gyms.
say a road trip.
well, I'm
No,
okay with
I
that.
say two, go.
Yeah, I
I'm
think we
okay with that.
definitely need to all take a tour of the inside of the building, so I can set
Yeah,
that up.
If you could set that up.
Dr.
that'd be
Outlaw,
great.
he's-
Yeah,
He's,
get us the key, we can go in and
Before snow flies.
walk and walk and talk and walk and.
They
okay.
do have the heat on, so we're all right. That'd be great.
Okay, does someone want to make a motion to assign Clerk Allen to explore all costs associated with the purchase of Bell Ann School for the purpose of moving the township offices to that location, and to bring findings back to the board by January 2nd or sooner?
I'll make that motion. So moved.
Someone like to second?
Yeah, I'll support it.
I did, we changed it to
All right, got it.
Okay, any other discussion? All right, I have a motion by trustee Cordella, seconded by treasurer Darnell, to assign Clerk Allen to explore all costs associated with the purchase of Bell Ann School for the purpose of moving the township offices to that location, and to bring her findings back to the board by January 2nd or sooner. Okay. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. The motion passes unanimously. And we'll follow up with this with a tour. Okay. All right, so now we can move on to our new business. The first item of new business is part-time clerical for the building and assessing. We have our assessor here. I thought we,
Yes.
oh, there he is.
Yeah,
Right
he's-
in front.
He's right there.
Yeah, here's the guy in the front row.
Bill Thompson.
The bright yellow shirt.
Bright yellow shirt. He was blended in.
So, Bill, if you want to come up to the podium, that way you can answer questions.
Sure.
we discussed this at our October 19th meeting, as far as the need for help in the assessing department. And we also had interest by our building department administrative assistant in wanting to help out. So we more or less devised a plan to have her spend, and she's here as well, so we can ask her questions. So what we're looking to do is have her spend 20 hours helping the assessor, and then we would fill that vacancy with a part-time person.
I'll make that motion, Kathy.
You'll make that motion?
Yep.
Would
I'll
someone
second
like
it.
to second?
Sure. I will do it.
We've already discussed it pretty
Yeah,
thoroughly.
Yeah.
And Bill's got his back up here now to justify it, so I'm good with it.
And we all know Brenda will be just fine.
That's correct. She's got a background for us.
They came here, doesn't anybody want to ask them a question?
Come on, rake us over the coals.
I'm sure they want to go home. huh?
No, you really don't. Trust me.
Are we going to state when this begins? I didn't see it in the, if you want it immediately?
That's a good point.
Yes.
He wants it
Thought
yesterday.
we said something to the effect in
Is there,
regards.
I think we did let me see.
I didn't see it in the motion as well.
We wanted to make a
Probably-
budget amendment for this year of that $1,000 for
Right.
fill-in.
Yep.
So the person would be fill-in until the board approved that person.
Right.
The motion at the bottom addresses that, I believe.
Yes, that's what that motion is.
Okay.
Yeah. So we would,
Start interviewing as soon as possible so that.
yeah, we would have to follow the township policy as far as putting the ad in the paper and the interviews and.
But it is for this year, not wait till 18.
If we can.
Well, we would start, we would have, so with any position, we have to have, in order for that person to be a permanent part-time, they have to be approved by the township board. So if we hire someone, we were thinking of hiring them as a fill-in for the rest of the year, and then we would be putting enough funding into the 2018 budget to cover that position, and probably bring it to the first meeting in January for approval. But it'll take a little bit of time to do the interviewing and things.
I'm still wondering, is it going to start immediately that Brenda will move over? Or is it
Not
going
till
to?
we find someone to
Somebody has to
cover.
cover
It'll
my
start,
job.
yeah.
Yeah.
It'll start when
Okay.
someone's
But you're already
hired.
kind of doing some of that work now, right?
Yeah, those two departments kind of go
Yeah,
hand in glove.
A little bit. The only thing I will say is I was reading your job requirements for the new position that we're paying a relatively small amount of money. You might want to back off on some of these requirements, because it's going to be tough to fill that position with all those requirements
Which
at
one,
that amount.
his or mine?
No, the new
building?
position.
The
Yeah,
building
the building
department.
one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I asked Brenda to get her job description
Yeah,
and then
that's not
take off
fair.
all, take off all the
You're
things
too
she
good.
did.
off, though.
That-
She did.
She took a
Wow,
lot off.
well, good for you.
So that was the question, how much did you take off?
I guess we've been getting a good deal then.
Roller skates are not included.
Yeah.
All right, I have a motion by trustee Broughton, and it's seconded by treasurer Darnell, to hire a part-time building clerk for up to an average of 24 hours per week, and to have building department administrative assistant spend 20 hours per week in the assessing department as township appraiser 1, and cover the building clerk position through year's end by increasing the wages for building inspection fill-in by $1,000 and decreasing building inspection professional services by $1,000. Okay? Sound good? And then, of course, that new person would have to come back to the board for approval.
Real quick question, clarification, building and inspection professional services, is that somebody that we hire to help us out here, or is that part of your group?
No,
not part of my group, but
Oh,
it's
building-
part of
Is that
the
a
Brandon
contract?
Township
Building-
current budget, I believe.
Yeah, building inspection professional services is a line item for the building department cost center, and that's to pay the attorney, basically, but it could also pay
Oh. Okay.
planner.
I thought it was maybe a contract house that
No.
was helping you out or something.
No, it's just a line item that
Okay.
we have enough funding in that we can steal some money out of
Very good.
that one to.
This was a little, just need clarification, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, then we will do a roll call vote, please.
Marshall,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Broughton,
Yes.
Darnall,
Yes.
De Palma is absent with notice. Cordella,
Yes.
Thurman.
Yes, motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next on our agenda is first reading of ordinance section 28-491, minor in possession. And this came to us from our township attorney stating that the state is revising their law, and he is recommending that we adopt the revision as an ordinance. Scott actually had a question for the attorney that I'd like to share the answer with everyone, and that was regarding clarification on the proposed MIP ordinance. And our attorney said the MIP statute has some similarity with the previous statute, but it is a rewrite instead of just an amendment. As such, our current ordinance, which simply adopts the previous amendment by reference, is no longer effective. The changes include the addition of a civil infraction for the first offense and a requirement that a first offense be reported to the Secretary of State for inclusion on the minor's license information. That aids law enforcement in making the proper charge at the time of the stop or arrest. We could simply adopt the revised state statute again, but then we would be required to keep published copies on hand for the public on request. By adopting our own ordinance, it becomes part of our published ordinances and doesn't require any special attention. As I believe I indicated, the surrounding communities have elected to draft their own ordinances because it simplifies record keeping and law enforcement. Since unfortunately MIP offenses are a fairly common law enforcement issue, simplification is a preferred way to avoid technical errors. Otherwise, the new ordinance and the state statute are the same. The new ordinance is different from the current state statute because there is no civil infraction and no reporting requirement under the current state statute until the first of the year. And then he asked that we looked at the chart that was sent, and I think is included in the documentation here, as far as a statement from the Prosecuting Attorneys Association on aspects of the new law. So then, excuse me, I went on because we had a question come up at a previous meeting that I hoped that our attorney could help us out with. And the question was, we are currently paying more in attorney fees than we collect in court fines to process tickets that are being written under local ordinances in Brandon Township. Could we save money by writing tickets under state laws? And his answer is, the statistical data necessary to answer your question in detail will take more than a day or two to put together, because I asked him this, I think, on Friday. As a preliminary response, you may consider the following. State law is prosecuted by the OCPO, and I didn't know that that meant Oakland County Prosecutor's Office until I asked him. And he said, well, it's good that I don't know that because that means he's keeping us out of trouble. So it does not maintain an office in the township or in the Clarkston District Court. Therefore, township matters are on a when we get to it basis. Your current township prosecutor's office is about 500 feet from the courthouse. Since the Oakland County Prosecuting Office represents 36 townships, it has to decide which matters to pursue and when. For some offenses, like OWI and domestic violence, the OCPO requires an arresting officer to process a warrant rather than issuing a ticket. That process takes the officer off the road for up to a half a day. In addition, the OCPO requires arresting officers to attend many pretrial proceedings, which also take the officer off the road. If your officers are unavailable to perform public safety details, it may be necessary to add officers to the contract. It is estimated that the basic cost of an officer is $135,000. When I appeared for discussion of the property maintenance code, there was a theme that the township didn't want outside laws applied in local situations, but using the state law will accomplish exactly that result. Continuing along the theme, by enforcing local ordinances, the township and its officers determine how best to enforce laws in the township in the context of the township's circumstances and goals. I am not suggesting that the OCPO will not I want to say consistently. I think it's conscientiously pursue local justice, but there will have to be a reallocation of resources at both levels. The enforcement of ordinances was never intended to be revenue neutral. Township government exists under the Constitution to provide local administration. Enforcement of local laws provides structure for administration of the township. The situation cannot be looked at simply on a net cost basis, because the long-term effect of non-enforcement could be costlier than what the township currently experiences. And then he'd like us to refer to Lieutenant Glover to get his input, so Lieutenant Glover's here.
Well, just
So
for a
it's not going to
second,
be a wash like we thought it was. If we thought it would be a wash.
I have to disagree, and I think this is a lot of dancing on the part of the township attorney. Lieutenant,
Yes,
is there an Oakland County prosecutor at Clarkston District Court?
certain days.
Okay, well, those are your court
And
dates,
it's
though, right?
only on felony cases.
Okay, they don't handle any traffic violations whatsoever.
No, because all the townships surrounding us, out of this district court and any district court that I'm aware of, everyone has adopted the motor vehicle code and everybody has local ordinances.
Okay, so have we adopted motor vehicle code?
Yes.
Okay,
Township.
so then our ordinances are exactly the same as the state because we've adopted them as our local ordinances, right?
For the most part, it doesn't. The state law doesn't cover all of the ordinances, and I'll just throw one out there. That's one that we use quite often. Actually, there's several of them, but one of the main ones, and we had it tonight, was like dogs at large.
Right.
That's one of them.
But that'll be your ordinance. That wouldn't be the motor vehicle code.
Right. That's something that's under the township ordinance
Right.
that we deal with quite often. That I've never found it covered under anything in state law. So there are a lot of them that we use that are a big benefit to us.
Right. No,
His
for sure.
message, though, infers that if we were to go this route of using state law, that somehow it's going to require more of your men's time than it is currently using local laws.
There is no question.
You agree with that?
Oh, 100%.
So then it's not a wash then?
No, no, it wouldn't be. I was.
Okay, well, then we don't.
I was
we don't need to discuss
Oh,
I was-
it
wait,
any further.
So your officers write a ticket, right?
Yes.
They write a traffic ticket, and because we've adopted the state code, they're basically writing the very same ticket. So it has to go to court,
Correct.
okay? Do they go to court for tickets written under our adopted code?
Yes.
Okay. Would they go to court for the state charge?
Yes.
So same time spent in court by your officers, regardless of what.
As far as
Ordinance
on traffic tickets
Right,
only.
and that's, I'm only talking
Yes.
about traffic tickets.
Yeah, if it was just
Because
traffic tickets, yes.
Yeah, because if you're talking about ordinance violations, I understand we have different, townships have different ordinances.
Well-
So I'm just talking about traffic tickets. The vast majority of the tickets they write are probably traffic tickets, right?
The vast majority, yes,
Yeah,
but
okay.
we write a lot of basically appearance tickets under
Sure.
local ordinance, and I'll
Right,
give you
for disorderlies.
I'll give you three of them that we use a ton, and one is OUILs, drunk driving,
You don't write that under the
State
motor
law.
vehicle code?
We'd write it under local ordinance, and the
But you
reason
can write it under state law.
we could, but let me give you the pros
Okay.
and cons of that. OUIL, drunk driving, driving under the influence of narcotics, and domestic violence. In the past, without being able to write it under a local ordinance, we had to, once you lodged the person that you arrested, that you had to go back, put your report together, a warrant package, and that individual would have to go to the Oakland County Prosecutor's Office.
Right.
The problem with that is, and I was a detective for a long time, you take that packet, you have to go down to Pontiac, you sit in a
Right.
waiting room at a whoever gets there first,
Been there, done that.
and then
Yeah.
you go into the prosecutor's office, wait for that warrant. Now you have to leave there, go get that prisoner, go to the court, swear to it. So there is a ton of time out of the township.
Okay, so how do you do it now?
Now we write it under as a ticket, send them down to you write them a ticket, and they're released from the court or from the jail, or RPI'd on their own recognizance, and then they're given another court date to show up at, and which alleviates a ton of time sitting down at the prosecutor's office.
So you have a second or third offense OUIL.
Well,
You're releasing them on their own
no,
recognizance?
because a third offense OUIL
Right,
is a
that's-
felony.
right, okay.
So not on a felony, because at that point,
Right,
it's a felony
okay.
case. But I mean, the difference is that every felony is obviously handled at the state law.
Right.
Every felony case. But every misdemeanor case, which is really the vast majority of the cases we deal with,
Right.
are dealt under local ordinance, and that entire process is handled down at the local court. And the advantage of that is, a lot of times, is that they're able to make deals and things down at that local level, to where that we don't end up down at circuit court in lengthy jury trials and that type of thing, which is where, anytime we're out of the township and in those type of things, that's where you start accruing the cost of overtime. One would be holidays and weekends. If we make even a misdemeanor arrest for, let's say, drunk driving, on Saturday, I have to have a detective come in, go down on his day off, and present that case to the prosecutor's office. And now you're talking to the overtime. You're having a guy come in on his own day off to go present cases to the prosecutor's office, which we don't have to do right now,
Because
because we're writing it as a ticket under local ordinance.
So you would prefer local ordinance?
Absolutely. To me, and I hate to say, it's kind of the cost of doing business. There are a lot of advantages of doing things under local ordinance for us. I think that if the board decided that they wanted us to write everything under state law, we can do that. But mind that, it is going to take a detective out of this township for lengthy, sometimes you might spend half a day down at that prosecutor's office. And then all the run around. So literally, detectives out of this township, almost on a daily basis for us. Because you are going to have to go to the prosecutor's office to present that warrant.
Kathy, that's not even in this motion, so I think maybe we've gotten a little bit ahead of ourselves, right?
What do you mean it's not?
Well, we're talking about, we really want to be talking about minor in possession right now. That's,
Well, yeah, but the minor in possession, this is an example of another local ordinance, and I think
Oh.
we just needed to get, because that question came up
Well,
before, we need to get it discussed.
Right.
Greg, can I ask Greg,
Sure.
what's your opinion on just, not this other business, but we were just talking about, we were trying to save, this other discussion was just trying to save the township paying this other attorney, and it seemed like it was either a wash or we were paying a little bit more. And I think you've kind of solved that, at least for me, you've kind of solved that problem. But for the minor in possession change, going with what Stuart's written, are you in agreement with it?
Oh, absolutely.
Then that's
Yes.
all I need to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. I've talked to Pete. I talk to Pete Keenan almost daily. He's obviously our township prosecutor. And I have actually been dealing with Pete since 1991, 1992.
Okay.
There are huge advantages to doing things locally. It allows us a lot of leeway of not having to deal with a county prosecutor, because they don't have the leeway that the local township attorney has, or township
What do you
prosecutor.
guys currently do on first offense, minor in possession?
Well, in the past, it's been a misdemeanor. They've changed some things, and the recording to the Secretary of State.
So they're actually dropping it down a little bit more, so maybe you guys
Basically,
won't
so that-
be so hesitant to write that first, Because otherwise, when it was a misdemeanor, I was thinking to myself, they're going to try to give this kid a break. They don't want to get him for a misdemeanor on his
See,
first time
and
out.
that is probably one of the bigger pluses to writing things under township ordinance. It does allow us leeway. I mean, not every person you deal with on the first time deserves to end up in a jury trial
Right.
or a major whacking in court. And we deal with kids, on a daily basis. So it does allow us a lot of leeway at the township level without having to deal with the state prosecutor.
Okay.
I mean, there is some advantages to it. I wrote some things down, and one of the with state law, which obviously they have to handle all the felony cases. There is absolutely no money that comes back to the township whatsoever. And I think that the amount of time that we would spend out of the township and then extra overtime that would be accrued, I mean, is it a wash? Absolutely not.
Okay.
But it could be as high as that because of the time that we're going to be out here in the overtime. Because you're talking holiday overtime, you're talking, I mean, it's a lot. Somebody would have to cover every single weekend on that. And I cannot take a patrolman and send him down to the Oakland County Prosecutor's Office to sit half a day and leave one car in this township. There is no way I can do that. So under the local ordinances, I mean, in which we deal almost everything under local, 60%, 67% of that cost goes back to the county, but 33% of it comes back here. And just in 2015, and I'll just give you the last 3 years. 2015, the revenue that came back to the township, including cost recovery. Now, anytime that we make an arrest for drunk driving or operating under the influence of narcotics, I do a cost recovery totally separate from anything else, and that goes down to the court, and then the judge decides whether to grant that cost recovery because of the amount of time it takes my guys off the road. So in 2015, about almost $30,000 came back to the township, and the cost recovery was about $2,300. So a total of $32,000 came back to the township, which you could take right off the charts right now, and I guarantee you with that overtime, you would be almost at that because of all the weekends. I mean, you're talking every weekend you'd have to cover that. 2016 was the revenue that came in was $32,000 with a $3,000 in cost recovery for a total of $35,000. And then last year, or actually this year, so far, and it's not, I mean, we have a ways to go, $25,000 in revenue that came back with almost $3,000 in cost recovery, for a total so far of almost $28,000. So there is money that comes back. Is it a wash? Absolutely not. But
I think the numbers we had when we were actually discussing it initially, there was like a $60,000 difference. I don't remember what the numbers are
No,
offhand.
I think it was 60,000 is what we paid for the attorney, so
Yes.
it's like a $30,000 difference.
yeah,
That's in the
Oh, okay, maybe that's,
Get
yeah,
like
okay.
half.
I believe so, yeah.
Right.
Well, based on the recommendations of the lieutenant, I'd like to make a motion to introduce the first reading of the Code of Ordinances, minor in possession.
I'll second that.
Did anyone else have any questions for Lieutenant Glover?
Yeah, I did, just real fast. You mentioned
The local prosecutor, Pete King is his name?
Yes.
Okay. Now, are we talking about, these cases are all tried down the road in Clarkston at the district court?
All misdemeanor cases.
Right.
But even to touch on that, Pete Keenan, because of him being the township prosecutor, even our felony cases, sometimes at that level, he'll handle them until it's bound over to circuit court.
Okay.
Because a felony case, sooner or later, it's either staying there or it's being bound over,
Really, the township attorney will handle felony cases up in through district court?
occasionally.
I'm saying that's pretty
Yeah,
rare.
occasionally. And a lot of times, he'll actually work side by side with the county prosecutor. If the county prosecutor comes in, I mean, their offices are right there. Pete Keenan's been around, and whether it's Pete Keenan or anybody else, Pete Keenan's been around and been the Springfield Township prosecutor, as well as Independence and Brandon. I mean, since when I first came to the road, he knows most of our local people that we deal with all the time. I mean, there's just a big advantage to it. There's some advantages to where that, is it very easy for a county prosecutor to come in and everything's black or white? Absolutely. But sometimes it gives us a lot more leeway with our local residents that we wouldn't have any other way.
I only have one question, it's just out of curiosity. It's How's the new law different for the PBT for minors? Because that's one of the things that says changing law for preliminary breath test involving minors. How's it changed?
You know what, that's a good question. I don't know, because this is brand new to us.
Yeah, I was curious if you knew.
Yeah, because I have not heard of anything different for the PBT.
Yeah,
I mean,
this
for a
says
minor
it's
possession, you still have to PBT them.
It's .02, right? Just like it was
Yeah.
before. I think this law says, and I read it.
I think it
and
is the
it's
same.
0.02.
Yeah. I mean, actually, even, and for minor possession, we don't have to give them a PBT. If they admit to drinking or you can smell alcohol on them, I don't need to put a PBT in front of them. I mean, I can testify as an expert of what alcohol smells like. In court, I've
We don't
never
wanna
had
go
that.
there.
No,
We don't.
but it happens.
We don't
So,
even know.
yeah, the PBT is always is a huge advantage, but,
2 grams.
so.
Yeah, I just thought there was something different on the PBT that I wasn't aware of, so I was curious.
No.
Any other questions for Lieutenant Glover? All right, I have a motion on the floor by Trustee Bratton, and it was seconded by Treasurer Darnell to introduce for first reading amendment and replacement to the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 28, Article 8, Section 28 through 491, minor in possession, as attached into the Code of Ordinances, Charter Township of Brandon, Oakland County, Michigan. Okay, if there's no further discussion, we will do a roll call.
Allen,
Yes.
Broughton,
Yes.
Darnell,
Yes.
DePalma is absent with notice. Cordella,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Thurman.
Yes. Motion carries unanimously.
Does
Thank you
does
very
anybody have any more questions for me as far as under the local ordinance or state law stuff? I mean, I put some things together if anybody had questions on it. We would be the only township in the entire county that would switch over to, if we did not handle things through a local
Being
ordinance.
different isn't a bad thing.
I don't know, it could be, I think.
In this case, I think so.
All right.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you, Lieutenant Glover. All right, we can move on to employee reclassification change. And I just wanted to say, I reread through this, and I put this, part of this motion into item E as well, so we'll take it off of E and just leave it on this one for C. So, we talked about this at our workshop as well. We're looking to move the Parks and Rec Director and the Senior Center Coordinator to salary, which in our policy is called an exempt employee. So we should probably take that word salary and make it exempt in the motion. And that would be beginning next year in 2018, and also adjust their longevity checks for this year.
And
So-
I'll make that motion again as well.
Make the motion?
Yep.
Okay.
I'll support.
Did anyone have any discussion on this for tonight? We're good? All right, I have a motion by Trustee Bratton, and it was seconded by Clerk Allen to change the Senior Center Coordinator and Parks and Recreation Director positions from hourly to exempt beginning January 1st, 2018, to increase Fred Waybrandt's 2017 longevity check by $320.47 and increase Annette Beach's 2017 longevity check by $65.28.
And just for anybody that wasn't at our budget meeting, we were at that meeting, we voted unanimously, we agreed on this at that time.
We didn't vote, because
Well,
we
we
only vote here,
discussed.
but we discussed it and we were all in favor.
Yes.
We discussed unanimously.
Couldn't vote.
All right. Okay, with no further discussions, roll call, please.
Broughton,
Yes.
Darnell,
Yes.
DePalma is absent with notice. Cordella,
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Thurman.
Yes, motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Moving right along,
You got it
CDBG
right.
resolution for public hearing notices on website from the clerk.
Did y'all read it? This is something that Oakland County recommends that we do if we want to advertise quicker for public hearings through Community Development Block Grant. Several of the communities through Oakland County already have it adopted, and I thought it might be time for us. So we can post any public hearings on the website.
Do you want to read the motion and
I'd be happy to read this
you
motion.
can make the motion and read it?
I just have to go from here down.
Yeah, just do the resolved part. It's
Okay.
probably good.
Resolved to approve the resolution to publish Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, public hearing notice at the Brandon Township Municipal Building and on the Township website for all future CDBG public hearings in 2017.
Will there be,
Would
I'm
someone
trying to
like
remember.
to second
Oh,
that?
Sorry.
I'll second it.
Okay, Scott?
I'm trying to remember how this went last year.
We never did this before,
This
ever.
just puts it on the website.
Okay, this just put, but, we had the BGYA come and apply, but there were other people that applied, that wanted to be part of that as well. Is there another time that they're gonna be able to come to this?
This isn't related to what BGYA was doing.
Oh.
That is for funding.
That's for
This is
funds.
for posting public hearings on the website, on the
Oh.
township website. That's all this has to do. It's not the
Okay.
funding.
What is the current requirement for posting public hearings?
10 days prior to in a local newspaper.
Okay.
And we also post in 5 other places throughout the township. So if we do it on the website, that's the only place we have to do it.
Okay.
There's
And-
options.
And these are just CDBG
Public hearings, that's all.
public hearings.
Yes.
Okay, so we're just talking about notices that relate to that.
That we're having a public hearing on funding, which is annual. Or if money has to be reprogrammed for any reason, if, let's just say I have $4,000 has been designated to a service project or service group, and they don't use it, then it's reprogrammed. I come back to the board and say how much, and then we decide where that money would go. Because it needs to be spent within a year and a half.
Okay.
Just for my edification, just so I understand still, this is fine, I'm not questioning this, but last year, I just remember, and I wasn't on the board, but I remember this process where there were 4 groups, and then we found out that it was gonna be too hard to split between 4, and we switched it to 3.
Yeah.
When does all that occur? When does that happen?
This was the beginning today, so
Okay.
maybe you could go through the process.
Tonight
Okay.
was a public hearing. Who is interested, they could do it via letter or in person, that they're interested in getting some funding for
Okay.
2018. I do have a letter in my office of interest, and then BGYA was here tonight
That
and
answers my
spoke with
question.
you. We
Okay.
did do 4 projects last year.
Okay.
That's the maximum projects we can do. I'm investigating for 2018 that we do funding for our fire department. So,
So what's the next step?
the next step is at our
the
next
public
board
hearing.
meeting, which is going to be our next workshop, special meeting.
Okay.
Then I'll bring a recommendation to where to spend the funding.
Okay. Okay.
And at that time, we vote on it and say, yes, go ahead and give X amount of dollars to,
So these other pantry groups or whoever that were applying for these funds, they were aware that this meeting was tonight?
Yes.
Okay.
yeah, and it was posted in the newspaper.
Okay.
Yep, it
Very
has
good.
to be.
You good?
Are you good? Okay.
Any other questions? All right, I have a motion. Well, actually, I have a resolution number 283-17, CDBG public hearing notices on website that was introduced by Clerk Allen and seconded by Treasurer Darnell. And it was to approve the resolution to publish Community Development Block Grant CDBG public hearing notice at the Brandon Township Municipal Building and on the Township website for all future CDBG public hearings beginning in 2017. And if there's no further questions, we will take a roll call, please.
Darnall.
Yes.
De Palma is absent with notice. Cordella.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Broughton.
Yes.
Thurman.
Yes, motion carries unanimously. So we'll move on to 2018 employee wages.
We already,
Pardon me?
didn't we already combine it with C?
No, not the wages.
Oh,
No, that part is also in here in the middle of the suggested motion. So if you want to put a line after where it says 2018 and put a line through, make the senior center coordinator and the Parks and Rec director exempt positions, we already did that part. So that can be taken off of this. So this is to approve the wage increases for next year. And basically, we're going to give the employees a 2% wage increase. The trustees would be rounded off to 99 a meeting. And then we also, well, I just kind of rehashed some of the things we talked about at the meeting, but this motion is to approve those wage increases and to improve the wage schedule that's being presented with this. And so not everything on the schedule gets a 2% increase. Let's see.
So the cable kids don't.
The cable kids don't, the planning commission and the ZBA, the board of review, election, let's see, what else didn't?
Did the recreation seasonal?
Yes, they did.
Board of Review did not.
The board of review did not. So basically, I said, where to say? So the building director recommends that the wages for the inspections, PC and ZBA remain the same. The assessor would like to keep the board of review at 100 a day. The cable coordinator would like to maintain the same. The clerk and the building director would like to see the recording secretary wages stay the same, and the clerk recommends the election workers stay the same. Because last year we did give some wage increases to those positions that were, in a lot of cases, above 2%. So this motion also includes giving the fire department employees a 2% wage increase. So did anyone want to make the motion? Omitting that one section?
After, this section we're omitting is after January 1st, 2018,
Yep,
up to,
to increase hours.
all right.
Yeah, and we also talked about moving the Parks and Recreation Administrative Assistant up to an average of 36 hours per week to be paid out of the general fund, and to move the programmers' wages back to the 508 budget, which is the supported by programs. So would someone like to make the
So
motion?
moved.
Okay.
Second.
All right, I have a motion by trustee Marshall, and it is seconded by trustee Cordella, to give fire department employees a 2% wage increase and approve the township wage schedules as presented beginning January 1st, 2018, to increase hours for the Parks and Recreation Administrative Assistant up to an average of 36 hours per week to be paid out of the 101-508 cost center, and to move the wages for the Parks and Recreation programmer back to the 508-117 cost center. Okay. Any questions or discussion? All right, we had a lot of discussion on this at our workshop, so. Okay, roll call, please.
De Palma is absent with notice. Cordella.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Broughton,
Yes.
Darnall,
Yes.
Thurman.
Yes. Motion carries unanimously, so we can move on to pension contributions. So at our workshop, we also discussed pension contributions. We have a recommendation by the Retirement Oversight Committee to increase the pension contribution by the township from 14% to 15% in 2018, and also to increase the employees' contribution from 2% to 3%. Last year, the township increased pension contributions from 12 to 14%. Okay, so then that happened, I think, the same day that we had our meeting, so then we discussed it at our meeting, the recommendation, so the township board had a chance to talk about those increases, and at that meeting, it seemed like everyone was on board with it.
I just have a question for the chief. Chief, at
Okay,
that...
hold on a second.
Oh, okay.
Would you mind coming up to the podium, please?
Sorry, you could have, for me, you could have just sat there and it would have been fine.
Well, our viewers at home need to hear the answer.
It does make a difference when you're trying to listen to it at
Yes,
home.
it does.
All right, so Chief, at that meeting, you had indicated that you received no opposition from your
That is a true
staff.
statement.
Is that still the same?
Yep.
Okay. That was the only question. I just wanted to make sure it hadn't changed.
Any other
Sorry.
questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So would someone like to make the suggested motion?
So moved.
Support.
Who said so moved?
Marshall.
Okay. Oh, you did too, Chris?
No.
Oh, I thought.
Bob beat me to it.
All right.
You can have the next one.
And Terry beat me to the second.
You
Okay.
gotta be faster.
Okay.
I couldn't get it out.
All right, I have a motion by trustee Marshall, and it was seconded by treasurer Darnell, to increase the Brandon Township pension contribution from 14% to 15% in 2018, along with approving the amendment to the defined benefit plan adoption agreement as presented by increasing employees' contributions from 2% to 3% in 2018 and authorizing the supervisor to sign the agreement. Any discussion?
Have you heard any opposition?
No, I have not.
Just in case.
No? Okay, roll call, please.
Cordella,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Allen,
Glad you caught me.
Yes.
Broughton,
Yes.
Darnall.
Yes.
De Palma is absent with notice, and Thurman.
Yes, motion carries unanimously. That brings us to Public Act 152 of 2011. We do this every year, and what happened, the state, in trying to help municipalities with their healthcare costs, came up with a law, which was Public Act 152 of 2011, also called Senate Bill 7, which when it was introduced. Anyways, they have capped amounts that you have to stay underneath as far as the employer contribution for health care, or you have to ask the employee to contribute 20%. We are asking our new employees to pay 20% of their health care costs, and I can't remember the year off the top. I think it's after October of 2012.
Yes,
rings a
it
bell.
was.
Okay.
October 31st.
Halloween, your favorite day.
Yes.
So, since not all of our employees conform to this requirement, we are allowed to opt out of this publicly funded healthcare insurance contribution act. And I think you were at the meeting when we did this last year, maybe, and I don't
was
know if
there,
you remember.
yeah.
You remember? Okay. So I don't know if you two had any questions about this?
So let me get this straight. Some of our employees are paying 20% towards healthcare?
Yes.
Some are not?
Some are not. The ones that were hired after October 31st of 2012.
And how many employees does that amount to?
2 for fire.
Three for, wait, no, 2 for us.
I know 2 for sure for us and 2 for fire.
I bet you have some unhappy firefighters over there.
No,
That's pretty-
more.
Really?
Wait, do you want to talk to the fire chief? Because I can ask him to walk up here.
No, that's okay. That's,
What are the question for my just, education?
Sure.
Are the people pre-October 31st, 2012 paying anything for their health care?
No.
No.
And that, we didn't do that because that's how they were hired into the township, with that benefit.
Okay. Just wondering.
I just have to say, from a union point of view, and I know this isn't a union shop necessarily, I really don't like two-tier systems, because somebody ends up
Yeah.
really being unhappy about the two-tier system.
That's why I asked the question,
But
It's a seniority grandfathering in thing, Bob, that you can't get
No,
around, so.
I understand, but
yeah. It is a
I-
little,
yeah, that just doesn't quite sit right with me. But
I'm sure someone would take a donation from you
I bet they would.
every month or once a year.
you paid all up front, right? January 1st.
Okay, would someone like to make the suggested motion to opt out of the Publicly Funded Healthcare Insurance Contribution Act, PA 152 of 2011 for 2018?
So moved.
Second.
Any other questions or discussion? I have a motion by Clerk Allen, seconded by Trustee Cordella, to opt out of the Publicly Funded Healthcare Insurance Contribution Act, PA 152 of 2011 for
I
2018.
have one more question.
Sure.
Is this 20% of their gross that they have to pay?
No.
20% of their
20% of their
healthcare
health
costs.
care.
Of their healthcare.
Oh, okay, well, that makes a little bit difference. Not much,
Oh,
but it makes a
right.
little bit difference.
It's a difference.
Yeah.
It's quite a difference, but
Any other
So-
questions?
It depends on your age and dependents, what you pay.
No other questions? Seeing no other questions, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, how about this? Opposed, say nay.
I'll abstain on this one.
You can't.
I can't,
honey.
oh, because all right, aye.
Which way are you going, Bob?
He said aye.
Aye.
For which one?
Yes. Which one? What do you mean? For the
Are
first-
you,
for the
you're an
original
aye,
motion?
not a
He's an
nay.
aye.
You're an aye, not a nay. Okay. So motion carries unanimously.
What does a horse say?
All right. And then we can move on to no-has. So Brandon Township has not participated in, as a community member of the Oakland County No-Has program since 2008. But No-Has has been letting our residents come to their collections and charging them a fee of $60 per load. This has probably detained a lot of people from using No-Has. But at the same time, if they feel compelled to go, they do pay the money and go. So what they're offering for next year is based on 150 vehicle participation. It would cost $7,103.73 if we asked each car to contribute $10 per car. We can also, oh, I got that wrong. It would be $5,603.73 if we asked each load to contribute $10. If we pay all of it, it would be $7,103.73. So I don't know how the board feels about participating in no-has
Well,
for
Kathy,
next year.
to start things off, I'll make the motion to do this.
Okay, would someone like to second the motion? I'll second the motion.
When I applied for this job. This was one of the things that happened. This was something that you voted on last year. And I actually put it in my application as one thing that I wanted to do moving forward is try to see what we could do about NOHAS. I did research it soon after I was hired in and realized there's really not a whole lot more I could do. And it is expensive. But I just want everyone to consider that part of this is it's really an incentive to get people to properly dispose of things that they are otherwise dumping in the back 40. Kerosene, maybe not, oil is easy because you could take it up to one of the service stations. But oil, old gas, things that I fear are being dumped in the back 40, this gives people a way to get rid of it properly. I had 10 gallons of old kerosene that I didn't want to use anymore in a kerosene burner. Fortunately, I found somebody that had an oil burner that said, yeah, I could burn it in there just fine, and he took it from me. But otherwise, you wouldn't believe, everybody said, Scott, just go burn it, go dump it in a fire pit and burn it. And I think that maybe there might be a happy medium of, because some of the research I did is NOHAS stands for North Oakland, is the beginning of the NO, and all of the other communities around us participate. Groveland does, Oxford, and maybe, because I agree it's expensive, maybe we just participate once every 5 years or something like that to give us an opportunity to get people and properly publish it in the paper so people can get rid of some of the stuff that otherwise is either going to end up in a landfill or otherwise disposed of improperly. So I will make the motion to do this.
I have a question. They say based on 150 vehicles.
Did you support her?
I support her.
Sorry.
It says based on 150 vehicles. Is that a number they came up with, or is that actually a number that our residents have showed up 150 times?
Well, if you read the letter that says, let's see, here we go.
Total
here's their
total estimate
Yeah.
of 150.
But it said that in 2006, we had 41 participants, and then in 2008, we had 252. So they were kind of averaging somewhere in between. So it's just an estimate. There's no way you can know how many are going to participate.
Right. I
prior
guess
to the event.
what I'm getting at is might it not be cheaper for us to actually make the payment per vehicle for them rather than pay the total amount for the entire township?
That's not an option.
That's if they allow us to just drive up, even though we're not part of the membership.
Well, but they're allowing it
That's,
to.
I
allowing
think-
us
Then
to
you have to
that
do
now.
plus the administration fee.
Yeah, I
plus-
think you would be kind of skirting the whole program by doing that.
Well, yeah, but we'd be saving money.
You're right, but it wouldn't be fair though either. to
Fair,
say-
we're saving
Don't
money.
they go over to Groveland to do this?
Do they go to
Doesn't Groveland have a site?
I think the
Oh.
closest one was in Oxford,
No,
actually.
Groveland doesn't have a NOHAS site on their own. No, they collect large items, but not hazardous.
Okay. I wasn't sure where the closest one was.
I'm just
Oxford Middle
trying to
School.
think outside the box.
I like Scott's idea. I think with budgeting for next year, it looked like we had a little more funds to work with. I think if we did this on maybe every so many years, and if when we do advertise it, we should advertise it that we're not doing it every year.
Yes.
So that will incentivize people to participate. Now, the other thing with this program is we have to supply volunteers to each of the collection sites.
Board members?
I'll volunteer for one. I'm stepping up here. I'll be a
So-
volunteer for one of the days.
So it would be
Wash my
nice.
hair that day.
It would be nice if everybody could volunteer for one of the collection dates. If we do decide to do this.
I don't see the dates. Where are the dates at?
It does, we don't have the dates yet.
I'll volunteer for one of the dates.
You volunteer for my day too?
Volunteer. Any other questions or discussion on this? So I have a motion by trustee Bratton that is seconded by Supervisor Thurman to enter into an interlocal agreement with the county for the 2018 NOHAS program and charge Brandon participants $10 per vehicle. Did we want to do the $10 per vehicle, or do we want to pay the whole way.
It would be nice if we could get some idea, because I would hate for us to be spending this money and then find out that people aren't doing it because they didn't want to spend the $10. You know, it would be nice if we could get some kind of estimate of, I don't know how we do that, though.
I don't know either.
I think a cost sharing at least would,
Yeah, I think $10.
We're good with
yeah,
$10.
$10 is,
Yeah, if it does, it's,
you
that's pretty,
go to Starbucks and buy a coffee for that.
yeah.
Okay, if we do that, though, can we also agree that we're gonna spend some money to place an ad in the paper, you know, in early January, so people can plan for this ahead of time? They know, hey, you know, as they're doing their spring cleaning, hey, there's a no-haz date in, you know,
I think we
April.
could probably get some free advertising in the form of a story from the paper.
There we go.
Absolutely.
Well, anyways, maybe you can mention that we wait for the vote, but that we're considering participating again, so people, as they're cleaning out over the next few months, they can set that stuff aside and properly
And-
dispose of it.
Right, and also, Scott, we put an ad in the paper for our mosquito repellents
Right.
and our township cleanup days, so we could probably include
Yeah, that would be good.
something about no-haz in that as
Good,
well, and with the
good.
dates.
How do we get a count of how many cars actually go and do this
They
every year?
they record it.
So they ask for ID and want to know what
Yes,
township you're
yes.
from and,
Yep. Yep.
so if only 4 cars go in the year, that's pretty lot of money for us to
Well,
spend.
I'm not suggesting that we do this every year. I'm just suggesting that maybe once every 5 years, we give people the opportunity to properly dispose of chemicals that
And the other
otherwise
4
might get
years, they'll,
dumped.
anyway.
There's nothing I can do.
Don't burn it in their backyard.
I can
yeah.
speak personally that I know that I had stuff sitting in a shed for years, and if I had known that, hey, every 4 or 5 years I could properly dispose of it, I would have done so. So.
Any other questions? All right, we have a motion on the floor. Again, that motion is made by trustee Bratton, and it is seconded by Supervisor Thurman to enter into an interlocal agreement with the county for the 2018 No-Haz program and charge Brandon participants $10 per vehicle. So if there's no further discussion,
So, just a curiosity, I guess it's a matter of bookkeeping. How are we gonna know who to charge $10 to?
they charge them at
They
the
do it there, and then
they
they just
do
do an
it.
accounting and something,
Yeah.
okay.
And then they give us the money?
No, we end up giving them money.
Yeah. So are we going to be, do we want to add in here every 3 years or every 4 years, like trustee Broughton suggested?
Well, I don't know as if we can make decisions for future boards.
Oh, that's a
Oh,
good point.
Okay, all right. All right.
Okay. All we can do is, we get this again next year, we can say no. Or if you tell me now and say, I don't want to see this next year, because it's pretty much the same board, I won't bring it. Okay, so we have a motion, and let's do a roll call, please.
Allen,
No.
Broughton,
Yes.
Darnell,
No,
De Palma is absent with notice. Cordella,
Yes.
Marshall,
No.
Thurman.
Yes. So the motion fails because it needs to have a majority to pass. So the vote was 3-3.
Bring it again next year, Kathy. Keep bringing it.
Keep bringing it next year, bring it again next year, okay. All right, so next on our agenda is the Prosper Magazine advertisement. So the Oakland County has a magazine where they showcase the different municipalities in Oakland County, and we have an opportunity to be part of this publication if we so choose to, and an ad to showcase Brandon Township in this magazine is $1,750. Personally, I thought I'd bring it to you. I don't know as if there's much
Just
interest.
a one-page, one-time event.
Yeah, in the magazine. I don't know as if we really.
I think we'd be better off with our Facebook page, we still don't have.
So is someone making the motion to decline the offer?
The advertising.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Is there any other discussion on this?
I unfortunately missed, what was the motion?
The motion is to decline the offer for an insertion order
Okay,
for the
that's good.
Prosper
He's done.
magazine.
That's good.
Good.
Okay, yeah.
Is there any other discussion?
That's what I thought.
Okay. I have a motion by Treasurer Darnell, seconded by Trustee Broughton, to decline the offer for an insertion order for the Prosper magazine. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries 6-0. And that ends our new business. So at this time, we will take citizens' comments on any item. Please limit your comment to 3 minutes.
Was that three?
Good evening. My name is Terry Seaver. I live in White Lake Township. I'm a former mayor of Farmington Hills, spent 14 years on a council there, and spent 4 years as a county commissioner. Was chairman of the Republican caucus, and a lot of the decisions Brooke Patterson made had to go through our committee. So just giving you a little background on me. I also am a real estate agent, licensed, and I do lot splits and approvals and stuff like that. I applied for a lot split on behalf of Leo Sovey. And one of the provisions that were put in there was because our property may have to go to the DEQ, was that they wanted a letter from, this is the committee for lot split, just a letter stating that the property, the wetland on the property was regulated. I've argued that, one, that's beyond the ordinance requirements. It's a violation of the ordinance. It's a violation of state statute. But I'm here to offer a compromise and would like to go on record for that, and then I'll follow up with the committee. Under your section 22A, it reads that no person shall split or sell any parcel of land within the township unless such parcel of land or resulting parcels front a street, dedicated public way, front a private road, and then it finishes by saying, or unless said contract, deed, or other form of conveyance contains the following language. And this I would hope you'd put verbatim, and that's this section. It says this: this parcel is not a buildable site for the reason that it is not served by an acceptable ingress, egress route in accordance with the standards set forth by the ordinance of the township. So I'm willing to, and by the way, my split was approved based on all of the requirements for the ordinance. And I think for a committee to have the authority to throw that in there is not right. But I would offer this, that we move forward. I started this in June, and here now I'm running into the end of the year. But I would propose this, and if you could take it verbatim, I'd appreciate it. If not, I'll leave a copy with you. But I would offer this in replace of a letter asked for a DEQ, because I did go to the DEQ, and they do not offer letters stating that this is a regulated wetland. So what I'm being asked of is not possible, but I understand the township's position. They don't want to be caught in the middle of approving buildable lots and stuff. But based on section 22, I think we could do this. We would offer this as a statement, a letter, or something in writing. Be it known that a split of land parcel number, our number, has been approved with the knowledge that should the MDEQ not approve the development of a road or driveway on said property, that the owner shall provide a written statement that the lots are not buildable. So in other words, I'm more than willing to compromise by meeting the requirement in section 22, move forward with this. I know everyone's not familiar with this. I just wanted to go on the record, because if I'm not able to get something positive from the committee to move forward, I'm going to take my right of appeal to the board and would like to have that on the agenda in December. That gives me my last chance to get this done by the end of the year. I'll save all of my negative comments because I think this is doable. The supervisor has called me and talked to me and been gracious enough to spend her time on it. We had a few differences about language and word, but I do believe this will satisfy both parties. We know that we can't build anything in the future if we're not approved by the MDEQ. It'll require a application. So, thank you very much. I want to be on the record. I'll leave this and be happy to follow up with the committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment this evening? Yes.
I remember having read about it. Was it brand new? Oh, yeah.
I'm going to get that tomorrow, too. Just real quick, we were talking about the local ordinance and state law. One of the things that I ran into this summer was, or this last fall, was like with the Renaissance Festival. Groveland Township has never adopted anything under local ordinances because they have the state police. And they write everything under state law. I was the commander out at the Renaissance Festival a couple times this year, and we had thefts, things like that went on. And I started looking, and we had nothing under township ordinance. So we had to send the officer that handled the case to the prosecutor to handle those cases when we could have actually wrote a ticket and sent those people on their way. Instead, we had to jail them, lodge them, and then seek a warrant when we could have. So there is a big difference for us. And then the second thing, you guys were talking about the health benefits and stuff. I was on the command officers contract committee, and you talk about those two different tiers, and I tell you, we have 3 different retirement systems with the county, and it is divide and conquer.
Exactly.
Because the young end up being
Eventually, eventually they're the majority.
so it's dangerous.
Thank you. Did anyone else want to make a comment this evening before we finish our meeting? Okay, seeing no other citizens wanting to make a comment at this point, we'll do board comments. Scott?
Quick one. Thank you. We held off on the second reading of the introduction of the definition of transient because Dana wanted to be here for that. I'd like to, and Courtney, if you can make sure to get this in the minutes, it wasn't in the minutes last time. I want to make sure that it's understood that I'm looking for, I want to make sure that there aren't unintended consequences of introducing this term. In other words, I believe it's been introduced to avoid the problems with people renting out properties for any term shorter than 30 days. If that's the case and that's the only purpose for the term, then okay. But if there's other uses of this term transient within our building code that we aren't aware of just because we don't know all the code, but it could be used for something like limiting people from hunting on their vacant land, fishing on their vacant land, camping on their vacant land. I want to know if there's unintended consequences of introducing that term.
Okay.
Thank you.
Nothing. I'm gonna go home.
Okay. Trustee Marshall?
I have a question for you. 'Cause I thought I remembered having read in the minutes for the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Wait.
Who
are you talking to?
Well, okay, I'll talk to you.
Mr. Seaver.
I'll ask you,
Okay.
Mr. Seaver. What was the date on it? 'Cause I remember having read it.
No.
it
This
wasn't.
this is a application for a lot split.
I thought I
And that
read
goes
something
through
about a lot
assessing.
split in here.
There's a different
It
one.
might have
Bob.
Oh,
been
was
a
it,
different
was it,
one.
oh, okay, okay, all right, that's why I couldn't find it, it was a different one, okay.
They
There you
approved
go.
that one already. That did get approved.
Oh, okay, all right. Then I have nothing.
You're good?
Yes, I'm totally confused, but I'm good.
Chris?
I have nothing.
Okay. Clerk Allen?
I hope everybody that can vote tomorrow will vote tomorrow. Use your right. Have a good night.
Okay. All I want to say is, I intend to work with Mr. Seaver on his issue there. I did have a conversation with him tonight before the meeting, and, he brought up some good points, and we'll try to see if we can work this out.
How does that affect, how is this board involved in that? I don't understand.
In our, ordinances, for this type of situation, it does say that they're allowed to appeal to the township board.
Oh, okay, that answers
So
the question.
that's how- Okay?
So he's already appealed to the zoning board and they've,
No,
Denied.
that
He
doesn't go to the zoning board. It's
Okay.
not a zoning issue.
okay.
Okay. All right, and that's it. So now we can entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. Who would like to make that motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Motion, meeting's adjourned.